going to call the meeting to order for April the 23rd at 5 o'clock for the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board meeting. Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Davis.
Here.
Koval.
Here.
Sayers.
Here.
Backo.
Here.
Vargas.
Here.
Massive.
Here.
Potter.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Woodard.
Here.
Ballard.
Here.
Domain.
Here.
Lohmeyer.
Here.
Pugh.
Here.
Banter.
Here.
We have a quorum. You heard a new name said Sayers during the roll taking, and that is Councilperson Connie Bosen's appointment, and she's new to the board, but certainly not new to neighborhood involvement. So we are very fortunate, and we always have give you a chance to let people get to know you, but we like to have you stay under 1/2 hour. So, Jennifer Sayers, go ahead.
Thanks. Well, I currently serve as the president of the Drake Neighborhood Association. I'm on the city's Economic Development Board and Roosevelt Cultural District Board. And when I'm not doing those things, I have a graphic design company that I run. And try to get out on my bike when I have spare time.
Good list.
Yeah. What would you like to know?
Well, any social problems or anything? You
I
did.
have never been in jail yet.
The day isn't over.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, and I'll tell you what, we're very grateful that you decided to serve on the board. So
Thanks.
thank you for being a member.
Well,
Are
thank
we
you
ready?
for inviting me.
Well, thank you. Okay, let's take a look at the agenda, and there might be, under board action, depending on the time element, there was a person that was, well, Kim, what is that on the time element on the agenda?
Yeah, it's B, the bluegrass. She thought the meeting was at 5:30, so she should be here.
Okay, we can adjust
Okay.
on that so she doesn't miss it. So, looking at the agenda, any additions or motion?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's look at the board minutes from March the 26th.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of March 26th have been approved. So with that being said, we will go to board action, and it's okay to start off with A, I believe, because your Kim, yours was on part B, wasn't it? So we'll start off with A and go with that.
Thank you, Chair. This is backed by our approval from the staff. This is the second year this will happen. If you all approve, this is the Summer in the City free concert series. You can see the locations below. Also, letters of support from the neighborhood associations. We always believe it's a good thing when we can bring a positive, family-friendly activity to our parks. And last year that was done, and with no issues to report back to you. It was all done well, organized well, and supported well by not only the neighborhoods and our police department and our staff. With that, we'd entertain any specific questions you have.
Did anyone attend the Summer in the City concerts last year? I did. I drove by and then got back in my car and started listening to AM radio again. However, I will tell you that I thought that was very well organized. They did a good job, and actually they had beer sales, and they had the correct amount of police there. And I thought it was, anytime you open up a free concert series in our parks, you always have concerns and questions, but I couldn't be happier with the way they did that. And if you remember when we talked about this last time, there was a person that was kind of on the fence about it being in the park. And I talked with that person, and we just happened to cross paths in Ben's office, and he was totally supportive of it. So this is a very good thing. And the parks that they are doing this year are...
3 of them are the same. There is one new one that was exchanged. So Sylvan Amphitheater in Greenwood Park will be, again, second year. Drake Park is a new site. It was at Cheatham last time, but still in the same vicinity. If you look at this, it's one in almost all 4 wards. One in Martin Luther King to return, and Stewart Square Park to return.
So Any questions or concerns on that? Anyone? Well,
I think it's great. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Rebecca, you want to call the roll?
Davis,
Yes.
Como.
Yes.
Sayers,
Yes.
Pacto.
Yes.
August.
Yes.
Massive.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Woodard.
Yes.
Pollard.
Yes.
Domain.
Yes.
Lohmeyer.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Fanter.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Board action passes on that. We're going to drop down to C and give Part B a little bit of time to get here because the person doing Part B was going to be just a little bit late because they misunderstood the time. Part C is the appointment of a nominating committee, and Rebecca, when she sent out the rules for nomination and the rules for officers, board officers, I hope everyone had a chance to look through those. There are term limits on that. I know that I just finished up my first term. So the nomination committee would be the people that have agreed that I've asked, and then I hope you have an approval of, would be Sam Pugh, Vicky Facto, and Cindy Fanter that have agreed to serve. Now, is there anyone else that would be interested? We can go beyond 3 if you want to. And then I also want to state on our executive meetings, which are the second Wednesday of each month, those are never closed. We want anyone and everyone. You do not have to be on the executive committee to attend those. Those are open to anyone. And we do have some people that attend those religiously. And I tell you what, it's good to have input. And that way you get there's no surprises at any board meetings and it's very good. So those are at 7:30, right downstairs in the McGray room, at the second Wednesday of each month. So are there any questions or someone else seeking to be on the nominating committee?
How often does the nominating committee meet? I mean, is it a regular thing?
Well, I'll tell you what, that would be between, Sam, that would be between, you're talking about specifically the nominating committee.
Yes.
Okay, that would be with you, Vicky, and Cindy. You probably could do that via phone.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted to, and it wouldn't require a formal meeting. And then anyone that is interested in serving as an officer on the executive committee, you would call people. You can divide that up. Vicky has been on that committee before, and you can divide that up and call people on the board. We have 15 members. You can call them and talk with them and see who's interested in any positions or any being on the executive board. Or you can, and then you will make your recommendation, and hopefully we'd have that recommendation back by the June, or is it the May meeting?
So you have 2 months consecutive is the history on this. You come back in May with a slate of officers. There's 5 executive positions due to your bylaws, a chair, a vice chair, and then 3 executive members. Everybody except for the chair is a 1-year term that has to renew annually. The chair is a 2-year term that only comes due in odd numbered years, so 2019 we're an odd number year. The chair can serve up to 2-year consecutive terms. Everybody else is on a 1-year renewal system.
And Sam, the procedures are in the packet this month, so
Okay.
you can find it. But it's got the actual procedures for it, so. But we'll touch base right at the end of the meeting, and then we can just talk about it.
Any comments, questions?
I guess that.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint the nominating committee as presented.
Second.
Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Davis.
Yes.
Como.
Yes.
Sayers.
Yes.
Pacto.
Yes.
August.
Yes.
Massive.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Woodard.
Yes.
Pollard.
Yes.
Domain.
Yes.
Lohmeyer.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Fanter.
Yes.
Anderson. Yes.
We have a nominating committee. Now, before we go to B, because Kim had said this person might require a little time, and by the way, has anyone noticed it's a little harder to get around in Des Moines now? So, to allow a little time, let's jump down to receive and file if that's okay.
Follow the thread.
And we'll go with the skate park update and then come back and address B in a few moments. Is that okay? Okay, Lee.
All right,
Ben?
coming up to the podium is Jenny Richmond. She's been the staff quarterback, if you will, for the skate park project. Just to remind you, the skate park project is being led by the county, Polk County officials, and there's a process that we've outlined in an agreement between the city and the county that requires the process to get certain approvals. This board doesn't approve construction, but we still wanted to tell you that we have some good news to report. All the boards and commissions below the city council that have to vote and approve have already done so. So this will be the last board and commission stop, although not asking for permission to construct, just to give you an update.
Sounds great. So good evening, Chair Davis and members of the Park and Recreation Board. I'm Jenny Richmond, as Ben said, and I'm the Planning and Development Administrator here this evening to talk with you about Lordson Skate Park. So on this first slide, we are going back in time a little bit. The notion of a world-class skate park in Des Moines has been in the works for almost 15 years. Starting in 2009, the West Riverside Drive Master Plan began to reserve space for its downtown location. I thought this was kind of interesting as I was putting this together. So you flash forward 10 years, and on the right, you can see the project location that has gotten fleshed out at this time. So for context, you can see I-235 kind of at the top of that slide. And then if you work your way around clockwise, the Botanical Garden, Women of Achievement Bridge crossing the river there. You can see the dam, the flow from the dam. And then on the west side is Wells Fargo Arena. So today I'm going to walk through a quick timeline, hitting some highlights, and then focus really on where we're at today. So if we step up to 2012, this concept shown in the slide was initiated for early fundraising efforts that were led by Amos, a mid-Iowa organizing strategy. They were thinking big from the very start and hired California Skate Parks to be the designer of this world-class facility. Just to give you a little bit of nugget of interest, California Skate Parks is also currently designing the Olympic venue for the upcoming Summer Games in Japan. So they are definitely the top of the game. Amos did a wonderful job. This type of work and advocacy is not their typical area of focus. So in 2018, a new campaign cabinet was formed with Chi-Chairs Christine Hensley, Angela Conley, and Brad Anderson. And Connie Isaacson serves as their consultant. So with the Lordson family stepping forward with $1 million naming rights donation, the project was definitely in full swing again. This time, Polk County is serving as the lead agency during design and construction so that we can continue the relationship with California Skate Parks as the lead designer and also working on a large part of the construction for it. California Skate Parks continues to work through the evolution of the concept, and as we went, we gained a lot more insight into the challenges of this site. So this is reoriented, so north is on the right side, but it's still sited along the river. And if you're familiar with that site, there is a great deal of topography. There's about a 35-foot change in elevation between 2nd Avenue and West Riverside Drive, what was West Riverside Drive. There's just a spaghetti works of utilities that go through the site, everything from high pressure gas to fiber optics to a water main. I mean, it's just really, really interesting to see that if you're into utilities and that sort of thing. And then also soil conditions are really interesting. So over the history of this site, it was definitely used as a dumping ground. So for construction material like old bricks and boards and all sorts of interesting things that are coming up. And then most recently, in the last few weeks, there's been a number of old mine shafts that have been discovered too for coal mining. So at least 3 of them at this point. So just you couldn't ask for a more challenging site. This slide just shows on the top section how our division, the planners, have been working really closely with the county and California Skate Parks to try to go through iterations of the design, trying to make it the very best site that we possibly can for everybody involved. So really trying to think creatively, because of the challenges of the site, costs were starting to go up. We kind of took a look and see how we can rearrange some things, and I think it's really ended up in a good spot. So we also had to work very closely with the Water Trails group, as this area was also under consideration for parts of the Center Street Dam area for that project. So just a whole lot of coordination. Ben mentioned that we have been through a lot of different boards and commissions, so Access Advisory Board, Plan and Zoning Commission, Urban Design Review Board, along with the coordination for the Future Water Trails project. In addition to the Parks Department, we've worked with fire, police, community development, and engineering actually has their own project manager assigned to it too, to help guide it through some of the real technical parts of the project. So it has been through a really scrutinized process. So then we jump forward to where we're at today, and ultimately all of this collaboration has resulted in a final site plan that will still evolve a bit, but it's really close to final. So now again, I'm going to reorient you. It's funny how these graphics get developed, and just depending on how it lays out on whatever page they're looking at. So now North is over on the left side, and Wells Fargo is at the bottom of the page. But you can see how it's really evolved over time and how it interacts well with the Rotary Riverwalk Park and the drop-off at the north side. So we feel like it's really starting to integrate into a really challenging site as best as it can. So this gives you a little bit of a perspective. So if you were kind of maybe not quite on the I-235 bridge, but just about. This is the orientation that you would see. In the bottom left side, you see the word wow pop up there. And so in addition to all the other coordination items that we've been through, we were also working with a public art piece, and that's been through quite a process as well. You can also see kind of a glimmer of a slightly orange roofed building there, and the orange roof is not necessarily accurate, but we're also looking at this restroom facility that has gone through all of the design process that we're trying to replicate throughout our system. So that would be part of it also. This is just another view looking from the north towards the south towards the Women of Achievement Bridge and the Bobber Park in the background. But these graphics really give you an idea of it, how it might come to life. And then a little bit more close-up of the skate park proper. And we are now in the final stages of details coming together, from lighting to bike racks and plant material to signage. So we feel like we're really getting down to the nuts and bolts here, and excited to see it through to whatever ends it might come to. I really appreciate your time this evening and look forward to keeping you up to speed on all of the evolution the project still might go through, and very happy to take any questions at this time.
I have one. Is that, will the bathroom be hooked to a sewer system?
Yes, it definitely will. Yep, that's part of the requirements of all of our restrooms that go in. If they're within a certain distance to utilities, they get hooked up to sanitary sewer and water and all that good stuff.
And then the parking. Jennifer, can you go back 2 slides?
Yep.
Where right there.
Okay.
So the parking would be just south of the playground, where the blue.
Yep, there's parking kind of sprinkled throughout, but the main, for large events, the thought is that the county, I shouldn't even say the thought, but the county has reserved parking up in the Wells Fargo arena area for the large events, and we have a very direct connection down Crocker that crosses Second, and there's already a signal in place for pedestrian crossing, and that's where our main connection down from the high level down to the low level of the river is. But people can come from the south easily over the Women of Achievement Bridge, and then we have more of the like maintenance, utility access, and drop off on the north side where that roundabout was, or circle.
Will there be a concession stand?
So that is one of the future thoughts. So right now, we have reserved a spot for future storage and concessions building. It might also act as some sort of ticketing or pass holding checkpoint too. So that would be more on the north side of it. So kind of a mirror image of that south side where the restroom is. So kind of two bookends of those buildings.
So the coal mines and the other debris didn't cause any problems from a budget standpoint? And you guys,
So, yeah, there's definitely some more walls that we've had to look into, or the project consultants have had to look into, and but they have really good geotechnical information at this point, because as soon as they find something a little fishy, they keep going, and I think everything's been found at this point. But yeah, it's just such an interesting history how people use the river, kind of turn their back on the river, and now we're trying to really embrace it again.
If you wanted to put a food truck someplace close to the park,
Yeah.
would there be a place to put one?
So on the north side, there is space for about 3 of them, and it's not necessarily dedicated food truck space, but that's one of the things that we're looking at right now are the electrical plans to make sure that the hookups that are necessary for 3 trucks are available. Good questions, my goodness. Thank you.
What's your construction timeline?
So that is not quite known at this point. The best case scenario is that they would start at some point late summer, and then depending on how things go, it could wrap up as soon as fall, or it could be stretched into spring. But really try not at this point to commit to anything too hard. I think different members of the cabinet are hoping for best case scenario, obviously. So that's there's kind of a range in there that we might land on.
Jenny, in case we have flood, this here looks like it's, once the water recedes, it just clean up and we can back to running.
Right, that's the theory. Yep, that's the intent, and it is out of the major flood zone. So if we had a catastrophic flood, I would assume that we would take on some water, and some cleanup would be necessary. One of the things that we're pushing for are quick couplers every 100 feet or so that the entire surface could be sprayed off. And if we had a 50-foot hose, we can just use that sort of to march ourselves around. There's drains in the bottom of the bowls that are designed per standard design methods for these types of facilities. So I think that has all definitely been thought through.
And the lights are all on phase 1 of this project?
So, right, the intent is for everything to go in except for the concessions or storage building, everything to be up front. And Musco, who we work with quite often, is involved with this project as well.
Has all the money been raised?
So that, I think, is more of a campaign, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Is that so? Right now, the agreement the city has with the county is that they will deliver this, and we're not necessarily involved in any of the fundraising. So we have good signals that they want to move forward because they're asking for permits to start things, but that's up to them to decide where they need to be with their fundraising. Apparently, it must be at a really good point because they're ready to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, good question though.
Heather?
Are there any plans for artwork, kind of street-looking graffiti artwork at all?
So I think there are a couple items that are kind of the first blush of art, and the big piece is the WOW sculpture, the skatable art sculpture. Also included, I'm not sure if any of you saw these at the farmers market or the art festival, but there are benches that have been made out of old skateboards that residents, visitors, whoever went by the booth, they could sign them, and those are really, really interesting. As we gain more of an understanding of what all the walls are, I think that might present another opportunity for additional potential art components. But I would say overall, it's a very artfully designed project, very sculptural looking, just really kind of beautiful, the lines and how everything flows. So I feel very good about that portion of it too.
It also looks like I could see someone spraying, graffiti on it.
Yeah.
Before they did that.
Anything else? Jennifer,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
We, looking for a
Motion to receive and file?
Okay.
The skate park update.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? All right. Thank you, Jennifer. That was a great presentation. We will go back to Part B of board action now. And Ben?
It's backed by, I think, not only popular demand, but our pleasure, and we're also very proud to have this event in our park, is the Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. This is now the fourth year. It's hard to believe it's already the fourth year at Tower Park. The program has a lot longer history than just those 4 years they were at other sites. But I can tell you, just like the one before this tonight on your agenda, nothing but positive things to say. They leave the park, if you can, better than they found it. No complaints from neighbors, no complaints from neighborhood associations, no complaints from our police department. No complaints from your Parks and Recreation Department. So we highly recommend you approve this.
Okay. You had, go ahead.
I'm not sure I need to say anything after that. I'm Cece Ibsen. I'm president of the Beaverdale Neighborhood Association. As was just said, that this event began as a Beaverdale Live Festival in downtown Beaverdale. It transitioned to a bluegrass format about 6 years ago, but moved to Tower Park 4 years ago. In years past, the Beaverdale Neighborhood Association has partnered with the Beaverdale Business Coalition to put this event on. The Business Coalition effectively dissolved last year, so this is now just a project of the BNA. The Bluegrass Festival will be held this year on July 20th from 5 to 9 o'clock p.m., again at Tower Park. As in years past, we have 4 acts booked for the festival. We're hoping to increase the number of food trucks and are again here to request permission to serve beer and wine. We'll use the same vendor we've used in years past, which is Iowa Beverage, and then the same system, which is I have a crew of adult volunteers who check IDs, issue wristbands, and then sell tickets, and then those tickets are given to adult bartenders who then verify that folks have a wristband and can sell them the beer and wine in exchange for a ticket. We do also, of course, have police officers that are on duty that night. As you said, Mr. Page, we've never had a problem at the event. This is a great event. It draws maybe 2,000 people to Tower Park on a summer night, but it's a pretty peaceable crowd. We have the park and sound permits. Jay Kozel on our board is working on getting the license from IABD. And again, we're just here to ask for your board's approval and the permit to have beer and wine at the festival this year.
Any questions?
Samples.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping you would have samples.
Of the music or the beer?
Yes.
I could sing a little ditty for you, but...
That's a very successful operation. I've witnessed it. I know a lot of our board member has. Kim was your best cheerleader before you came, and it's a very good event.
Thank you. Yeah, it's unique, I think, in the city. I mean, it's just something that, you know, we're doing and other neighborhoods aren't. And it's bringing people into Beaverdale from other neighborhoods, which is something we really like. So, and I know Merle Hay Neighborhood Association, their president, Chris Moore, sent a letter in support of the event. I believe Waveland Park did, not sure about that, but they have also committed volunteers in the past. So those are the neighborhoods that kind of surround ours.
Questions? The 9 o'clock closing time, I thought that might be a little early. Have you ever had a problem with that?
Well, the bands quit playing at 9 in that range. We try to be courteous because it is a park in a residential area. So I generally kind of gauge the enthusiasm of the crowd at that hour and decide when to do last call at the bar, because that's the biggest issue, and then, you know, is getting people out of the park. But again, it's an event that appeals to, I don't want to say people of a certain age, but it's not a crowd that's going to stay out and party until midnight. So.
Is parking an issue at all, or?
It is not. Actually, in years past, of course, when First Federated had that church, they allowed us to use that parking lot. Jeff Young has now purchased the old Franklin Junior High and is in the process of hopefully developing that space. And last year was the first year he owned it. He has barricades up there just to keep illicit activity and such out of the parking lot. but he moves those barricades. He did that for us last year, and actually, as he was moving them, his equipment broke down, and he went and rented the equipment that he needed to move those concrete barricades for us. So he's been a great neighbor. In fact, has offered, in case of inclement weather, that we could move the event inside. That's a little difficult to do because of the food trucks, but it has not ever been a problem, and I don't anticipate it being such this year. We'll have to do one thing different, and that's move the position of the beer truck that comes in, because we bring a cold truck in, and with that splash pad in the bathrooms, the construction there, we're going to have to position that a little bit differently. But my husband went up today, and he's figured out where we're going to put the beer truck, so we're good to go.
Anything else? Thank you very, very much.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, entertaining a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Davis.
Yes?
Vogel.
Yes.
Sayers.
Yes.
Pacto.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Massive.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Woodard.
Yes.
Pollard.
Yes.
Romaine.
Yes.
Lohmeyer.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Cantor.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, moving along, we will go down to E and the receive and file. Ben?
Yep, chapter 34, you have a map that was laid out tonight for you if you want to know which block, as we refer to those as blocks like you would in a residential area. You're looking at purely a supply and demand situation. We are working on chapter 34, so I do not want you to be confused or to ask why next month we start to bring some of those things as a whole to you, but right now we just can't wait to go through the next process. We have time, we'll bring it back next month for this action, and we'll go to the city council and ask their permission, depending on what you all tell us here tonight. But we need to have a product availability to sell that's running out at Glendale Cemetery. That's the short answer. Ganesh is here to answer any questions you might have that's more in detail.
Actually, if it's all right, I'm going to just mention one quick thing. This past week, we had Earth Day Trash Bash, and the Sons of the American Revolution wanted to thank you all. Mike Raleigh was not able to be here tonight to present this certificate. If you all want to just open this and pass it along. So we had many of you, I think 6 or 7 of you came the other day on Friday to help to clean headstones at Woodland Cemetery. That day we were able to do more than 375 headstones. So thank you very much. For those of you that participated in that, you now are skilled at doing that. So we have about another 20,000 to go. Yes, I am ready to talk a little bit about the cemetery fees that we're proposing. I did prepare a graphic to help you understand this a little bit. As you look at Glendale Cemetery, the area that we're talking about is represented in blue. It's 30B. That's block 30, section B. And to the north of that block, we did some digitizing of our records with these block books, and we found open spaces. About 37 years ago, for some reason, we stopped selling and had the assumption that all the spaces in that block was full. However, we found that there were spaces that were set aside for mausoleums. All the pink that you see in here represents 40 plus spaces, or probably about $150,000 worth of inventory to be sold. So we started looking a little closer and found that there were spaces that were contiguous. Now, we normally bring fees to you all once a year for lots. And we wanted to bring this to you now because our inventory for single space lots where we could have upright monuments and plantings, we have depleted a lot of our inventory. What's left is about 25 spaces in block N, that's towards the bottom of your diagram there, and in block 37, that is a block that we have space there. However, those do not have upright monuments. They're flush markers and no plantings. So this price point of $1,800, we believe that we could do pretty well in that area. And remember that this is a space, once you have a lot, you could have one full internment and then cremated remains on top, or 2 cremated remains.
Ganesh, now, it's 1,800 is what your, $1,800 for 37 and N down at the bottom?
$1,800 for block 30B.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh.
I thought you said 37.
Block N is $2,150.
Now, does that include, can you have markers in N?
Upright monuments?
Up, yes.
Yes.
Upright?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and plantings as well. So this is a lower price option, which is important. And one thing about Block N, I would say that that's high-priced real estate because it overlooks the pond.
Location, location, location. Remember that we talked about when we talked about cemeteries.
So how many actual spaces are being converted and what will be the resulting number of spaces? I see there's 50 to 60 spaces.
Yeah. What you're going to see on the back of this, where we actually have this section off, that might look a little confusing. You might look at that space and say, okay, well, there's about 8 spaces there. Each of those spaces are actually in 4 quadrants each. Let me explain it this way. There's 176 feet of space. These lots will be 4 feet wide by about 11 or 10 feet long, which allows us about 50 to 60 spots in that space. There might be a tree or so that we're going to leave all of that in place, but what's there right now represents a minimum of 50 to 60 spaces.
That's the resulting number, not what you're starting out with. Okay.
Correct.
Are there any spaces in 37?
There are spaces in 37, actually, I'm sorry, no. In block 37, it was sold out in December of 2018.
Show you the action, to show you the next available.
Oh, okay.
There are spaces in 36A, which is nearby of 30B, but those are no planting and no uprights. They have to be flush markers. And that sells for $1,600, and there are 25 spaces that remain. This sounds like a sales pitch.
Is anyone interested in buying one tonight? Okay. Any questions? Any questions on this anymore? Okay. Tonight, this is a receive and file, so we will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, receive and file. Okay, let's move on to F.
Thank you. Recently, the city employed a consultant to come in and do, like we do very often, the citizen satisfaction survey. The city council received and filed the general overview of the city. We're here to just dive a little deeper into what the public thought and satisfaction surveys about Parks and Recreation. I've asked Richard Brown to kind of show you what he's dived into, to show you the details, the data behind those.
Chair Davis, members of the Parks and Recreation Board, Richard Brown, Assistant Director. Like Ben said, I'm here tonight just to give you an overview of the 2019 Resident Satisfaction Survey results. This is a survey that's conducted every 2 years to really gauge in a statistically valid way how many or what people think of the services that are provided by the city of Des Moines. How satisfied are they with them? In order to do that, they got almost 1,300 respondents this year. They only need about 800 for it to be statistically valid, so they got way over the number that they needed, a really good response rate. And one of the things that this is really good for us to do, it helps us to look at trends and benchmark how we do not only from year to year, but against some of the other cities that we benchmark against. The company that does this actually works with a lot of cities across the country, so we're able to see apples to apples comparisons and how we do with some of the similar services as other cities do. Just kind of start out here, this is the overall satisfaction with Parks and Recreation Services. These are the key questions that they asked, and then how do we relate to the large cities that they survey against. So what they do is they look at cities larger than 250,000. We're not that big yet, but we fit into that category. You can see here the blue arrows show how we're significantly higher than all the cities that were surveyed. And if we were lower than those, you'd see a red arrow. So very good numbers that we're seeing here from anything, the number and location of city parks, our biking trails, where they're located, overall quality of our parks, pools, and one kind of odd thing you see here, a lot of departments across the country have libraries lumped into Parks and Recreation. So that's why you see the last one, the overall quality of city libraries lumped under Parks and Recreation Services. Here, we're looking at the overall quality of city parks. You can see the average is in yellow on the very far right-hand side at 69%. We're at 74%, and you can see all the other major cities that were measured as part of this and we were compared against and benchmarked against. You can see that we beat all of them except for two, with Austin, Texas on the very far left, and I believe there, I can't see.
Nashville.
Nashville, the text was quite small. Another thing they're able to do is actually take all the respondents and how people answer these questions and scientifically determine what's the most important for us to tackle in the next 2 years. So they call this the importance satisfaction rating. So they're able to take all those answers where people say they're happy with the parks, they're happy with trails, they're happy with the quality of these things, and draw all the way down and say, based on all the responses, this is what we think is the most important. And for the last 2 surveys in a row, the thing that they have found should be the #1 priority for us to work on is the number of restrooms in city parks. This is something that has really, we're finding become very important to residents of Des Moines as well as park users, but we're also starting to see it on a national level as well. Some of the webinars and information and reports coming from the National Recreation and Parks Association are showing the increased importance of restrooms in parks. So not something just happening here in Des Moines, but across the country. And then you can see some of the other ones that are up there in the orange. So the use of green practices, that would be looking at ways to improve water quality, the use of native plants, maybe reducing the amount of chemicals we use. Also looking at ways to learn more about nature and the environment with activities. Next, once you jump into the yellow, the quality of pools, and then you can see a whole number of things that are less important, but are things people said they liked or wanted more importance on. One of the great things about working with this company every 2 years is we really get to start to rank ourselves historically. How are we doing from year to year? Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? Are there some things we need to look at? You can just see here, here's 4 of the big historical trends. The top left is the overall quality of our parks. You can see that's staying pretty steady to maybe increasing just slightly. The number of walking and biking trails continues to increase over the years. Interesting thing about that, even though the number of miles that we have in the system continue to increase, we're seeing more and more desire and demand for them as well. So it's something that's really has been going strong for probably the last 20 plus years. Down in the bottom left, you can see increase in satisfaction of the number and location of parks. This relates really back to Live DSM and our goal of making sure that every resident lives within a 10-minute walk of a park or trail. So you can see here from a satisfaction standpoint, we're really increasing with some of the new trails and park facilities that we're bringing online. And then on the bottom right, you can see just a pretty steady satisfaction with the quality of our pools in the park system. How do these response rates look across Des Moines? One of the great things about this is that with all these respondents, they start to able to break this down into different areas of the city, different demographics. So it really gives us different abilities to look at things across the city. So there may be areas of the city that are really satisfied with something, and there's maybe areas that aren't as satisfied. One of the first questions that relates directly to Parks and Recreation is Des Moines a livable community? And you can see here all the areas of the city are in a dark blue or a light blue, with the exception of a small area that kind of parallels just west of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway, just north of University Avenue. But you can see even that That's a neutral statement, but the rest of them are agree or strongly agree. So most of the people that filled out this survey really agree that Des Moines is a livable community. The next one is talking about the feeling of safety in parks and trails. And you can see here we have quite a bit of the city is either in neutral or safe. So it gives us the ability to see maybe there's certain areas of town, certain parks, certain facilities that maybe we can jump into and see what some of the concerns were. But we can start to get that feeling across the city. Where do people feel safe and where do they don't feel safe? Again, you can kind of see a progression here as now we finally get to restrooms, and it's mostly people are neutral to the number of restrooms in the city, with just a few areas being satisfied. But you can start to see these trends and how people think about this from all over different areas of the city, because it's quite a distance and quite a different scale, from the northeast to the southwest and the northwest to the southeast. Des Moines geographically is a very large city. One of the great things we're able to do now is start to look at some of the demographics, anything from race to age to income of people that are filling out these, and use that to really determine and maybe target improvements for how equitably we serve the residents of Des Moines, whether that be through park and trail facilities or through programs that we provide. You have these two handouts in front of you. Rebecca, it was nice to print those out because they're a little bit hard to read here. But you can see we can start to look at satisfaction based on wards of the city, by your age, by your race, by your income, whether or not you have a job or not. So really a lot of really good data that we can jump into and really look to target how we could improve programs, maybe areas of the city where we're missing parks and trails, or maybe areas of the cities that we need to improve the quality of the parks we have there. This is just another one looking at some of the special events that we offer, and along the same lines, we can really drill into a lot of different things across the city. So this satisfaction survey becomes very important to us when we're looking at continuous improvement and always finding better ways to serve the residents of Des Moines. If you're interested in this, I'd encourage you to go onto the city's website. There's the full report. It's kind of long, but I could probably have Rebecca send that out after the meeting. Or if you want to go to the city's new website, it's under the city manager's office under performance metrics. It's about 139 pages of a lot of really good data, but we find it very interesting to help us to provide services for the residents. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well,
if none, thank you.
Very thorough. Thank you, Richard. Receive and file?
Move. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will receive and file. Let's move right on to the Park and Recreation Director's report. Ma'am?
Thank you. Just one little last tidbit, that last presentation is, that's just another tool in our toolbox as staff presents budgets internally before we bring them to you, is we try to tie these things back to every little piece of data and analytic we can, especially ones that come directly from the community that are scientifically surveyed, such as that was. So just a little tool I wanted to make sure you understood. We don't just give you a presentation and feel really good that we're ranking above the national average. There's still work to be done. All right, just a reminder, these next few things are more marketing than anything, but on the 30th of May is the annual Park Board, Friends Board, City Council Tour. My message tonight to you is if you haven't RSVP'd with Rebecca yet, please do so. Send her an email. Starts at noon. We'll meet at Principal Park, which is different than we've ever done. You'll get a behind-the-scenes tour by Michael Gardner about the ballpark. A little quick presentation of how that relationship with the city and the ballpark works. From there, we're going to move you to Columbus Park, Allen Park, the new site for the relocation of the East Side Dog Park, Reno Dog Park, Sargent Park, ML King Park, and the community center specific there that you haven't seen. We wanted to hit that last year. Beaverdale Park, Ashby Park, Harmon Park, and Oak Grove Cemetery. Now that's always the goal, to have a nice list, and it just depends on how the day goes, how we might have to cut some things out or do drive-bys just quickly and point out things. Last but not least, we do provide a chase vehicle so it can get you back, so you can only do 2 hours instead of 3. We'll make sure we can get you back to Principal Park. I know many of you have a good time going on that, so I hope to see all of you if we can.
You said we should confirm with Rebecca.
Yes, right now we have record numbers already RSVPing between the three groups, so we're actually going to have to get a bigger bus this year, which is a good sign. We're glad that we have a bigger bus. But let us know, because we're planning for lunches. We're planning to make sure we have the right size bus and the right number of chase vehicles that get people back. All right. Next up,
Thank you.
this is our 2019 Recreation Summer Happenings presentation by Brian Becker and John Hagener.
Chair Davis, members of the Park and Recreation Board, I'm Brian Becker, Park and Recreation Superintendent, and we're here tonight to go over the Recreation Summer Happenings. Youth Flag Football, this is our 6th year partnering with Des Moines School District. Registration begins May 1st with the 6-game season beginning September 8th. Championship games will again be played at Drake Stadium. We had about 250 participants last year for flag football. Stand-up paddleboarding is becoming one of our more popular summer offerings. There's usually a wait list. Last year we had over 100 participants in all 3 of our offerings. I'll go through those 3 offerings.
Hey, Brian, just 1 second. I see some of you taking notes. You don't need to take notes. We'll email this presentation to you tomorrow if you wanted to know the specifics, the times and the dates, all those things.
Yep. Introduction to stand-up paddleboarding basically teaches you the basics, and it's for introductory participants. Stand-up paddleboard with the Naturalist is a relaxed, fun way to paddle Grays Lake after work. You get to explore the wildlife around Grays Lake with the Naturalist. Train the Trainer is for leaders who want to be instructors that are stand-up paddleboarding. This year, the Star Party will be held August 10th at Ewing Park Lilac Arboretum. Activities and crafts are based around the moon, meteors, and stars. This year, the movie is Incredible 2. Overnight camping is available online.
To keep it going there, Chair Davis, members of the Park and Recreation Board, John Hagener, Park and Recreation Superintendent. We are entering the 10th season now for the Yoga in the Park series, once again presented by Unity Point Health. It will take place every Saturday beginning June 1st, of course from 9 to 10. It's free of charge once again. This year, there's a tremendous amount of projects going on at Grays Lake Park, as you all are very well aware of. Therefore, we're excited to say we have a great new venue for this, which is the Claire and Miles Mills Rose Garden at Greenwood Park. So fantastic new venue for that. Classes, again, will be taught by the volunteer instructors, as they always have been. So if you or anyone that you know are instructors about yoga, we'd love to hear from you.
And John, do we plan on going back to Grays Lake the following year?
We probably will. We can certainly assess it, but we'll see if Ann, who I know is a frequent user, likes which one better. So, Free Flicks is a summer-long series of outdoor movies showing throughout the Des Moines area. The series will actually begin May 11th at Grays Lake. Now, this is in conjunction with a national initiative called Kids to Parks Day, where we'll have lots of activities, and the culmination of that day will result in the showing of the Lego Movie 2, which will kick off our Free Flick series. The films are shown on a 25-foot portable screen, as you see there on the slide. Admission, again, is free, and we encourage people to bring their blankets and lawn chairs. Since 2015, Des Moines Park and Recreation has teamed up with Des Moines Music Coalition and to host music camps in the summer for kids ages 11 to 15. Well, once again, that'll happen this summer. During these 2-week camps, students create music in a fun and collaborative environment with no prior experience necessary. There's 2 different genres explored during the camps. The days and locations are the same. Of course, at Hoyt Middle School, the only difference is hip-hop is in the morning and rock is in the afternoon. At the end of these performances, then the students will get an opportunity for 2 live performances. One will be right at the Hoyt Middle School on that Thursday, June 27th, and then the other one will be at the 8035 Music Festival on July 12th. Well, we're not done with the music yet. Then on Saturday, May 11, at Captain Roy's, at the outdoor stage, kids will have the opportunity for another performance. This is a pretty cool, unique opportunity for bands or performers that are 18 and younger. They do need, the bands must be registered by an adult sponsor, answer a few questions, contact information, number of members, and the style of music. So if you're interested in these or any of our programs in music, be sure to check us out online. Perhaps Chair Davis will be listening to AM radio after this music showcase too. I'm not sure. So we'll see. Bike Back to School. This is a partnership with presented with the Des Moines Police Department, the Street Collective of Greater Des Moines, and the Park and Recreation Department. Essentially, this is a bike giveaway and bike rodeo. There'll be a minimum of 50 bikes given away to the first 50 eligible children based on free and reduced school lunch. Helmets, locks, and safety tips will also be provided. Well, 32 days from tonight, finally, Northwest Pool will be open after a very long winter. As you may recall, the Northwest Pool is the one that this board helped us decide which one would open earlier. That's the one that will open earlier. Season swim passes and swim lesson registrations are open now. The public can save a few extra dollars by registering for season passes through the end of April. We offer a variety of special events through the season to recognize people or events. There's a few that are listed here. It's just a great way to bring people out, perhaps at a reduced fee to our pools. This slide also has a few of those special events. I do want to invite your attention to specifically the Doggy Dive Teach Out Aquatic Center. Once again, you guys helped us approve those schedules. We'll stay open a little bit later through the Labor Day weekend. Therefore, their Doggy Dive will take place September 2nd, and the other 4 will take place August 18 when they close for the season. And finally, we're excited about our new drop-in fitness hour at Ashworth Pool. Basically, Mondays and Fridays from noon to 1, you can lap swim, you can ride an aqua bike or an aqua treadmill, or on Mondays and Wednesdays, you can even participate in a aqua jog class. The fees for all these activities for the fitness hour are the cost of a daily admission or for those season pass holders. So that's just a little bit of our summer happenings, our summer programs. Happy to field any questions, comments people may have.
Questions?
How's the lifeguard situation going?
We're actively recruiting. Are you interested? We are, I would say, slightly above what we were last year. So, but we're still looking for lifeguards. Thank you for asking, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, John. A lot of activities. A lot of activities. Oh, your program guide that's in your packet, I was just perusing through mine. It's got a lot of interesting information in there, so make sure you keep that out and keep it on in your car, because it will come in very, very handy. Before we, all right, let's move right on to the report of the chairs. Andrea, Vicki, Urban Conservation.
Well, we had a few updates. We hadn't met for a few months, so it was nice to get back together. We heard about the milkweed project. We had a report from City Forestry, heard a little bit about some of the work being done at Whitmer Pond, and generally had a park construction update. But most importantly, Vicki got to come to our first Urban Conservation Committee meeting.
How'd she do?
It was a lot of information that day.
It was a
What'd you
lot
think?
of information. It's going to be very interesting.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Golf Committee? Bill, Steve?
Nothing really. They're promoting that golf and ride. Do you remember what date that is, Steve?
Golf what?
The golf, the four.
The Friends event?
You run and ride? Or
That's, look at the calendar over there. June, whatever that day is, the Friday in June, teen.
Okay. Anyway, they've placed about, they've got about 80 applicants for the 120 some possible, 144 possible slots, and just want to mention that and encourage anybody that is interested to sign up. It's a lot of fun, and I didn't play last year. I had a bad back, but I'm going to try to do it this year.
Joel, Cemetery?
I was not able to attend the last meeting, but we talked about the Chapter 34 updates.
Sound like we picked up a few more lots also.
And here's we found space.
Okay. Trails, Sarah, Jim?
It was both of our first meetings, because our prior meeting had been canceled. I'd say the majority of the discussion revolved around all the damage that was sustained, the flooding and the ice. They also presented the, the
Bicycle collectives ordinance,
Yeah.
model bicycle ordinance.
they'd like to see become more of a well-known around the community, but
There are issues with it, or concerns.
so work in progress.
Okay, great.
At the previous council meeting, not last night, but on before that, the council also did approve the contract to build the section of trail between Easter Lake and County Soccer. They designated the low bid and awarded that contract, so this summer that section will be built.
Well, you know, we had perfect attendance again. This is a tremendous board. We always have great attendance, and that's really speaks highly of everyone making time to attend, so we really appreciate that. Ben, any closing comments?
Just thank you for the attendance. That is awesome to have a board that is this committed to what we do, and it really helps keep our workload moving forward. Without some of your approvals, we can't keep things moving, so thank you, and thank you for your patience as we rebuild some of the trails and things at Gray's Lake. It's been quite a challenge with the timing of those damages, and then the busier of the seasons. There's no downtime in Parks and Recreation, but the busy season is upon us now, and we're trying to put that back together, but also keep everything else going forward, so thanks for your patience.
Any comments, members? Any comments? Any observations? Anything to add? I guess that we can record time. Entertaining a motion. Andrea?
Second.
Okay, we are all approved. We're adjourned. Thank you.